Somewhere past the edge of everything we thought was dead, astronomers just found something breathing. Not alive, not warm, but real. Persistent. An atmosphere. A thin veil of gas. Clinging to a world so small you could drive across it in a day. So cold that the air itself would freeze solid on Earth. And it's been there for longer than there has been life in our oceans. The world is called Gong Gong. Or Make. The names keep changing because we're still learning its face. What we do know, it orbits at 50 billion miles from the sun. That's farther than most of us can hold in our minds. The distance from Earth to the sun is 93 million miles. This world is 540 times farther away. The sun, from its perspective, is not a source of light. It's a pinprick. A star among other stars. A point you'd miss if you weren't looking directly at it. Inhale right now. Feel that cold sting in your sinuses on a January morning. That specific sharpness when frozen air hits the back of your throat. Now imagine that cold thinned by a factor of 1,000,000. Not colder, thinner. 1,000,000th of Earth's atmospheric pressure. So delicate that a single breath could disperse it across miles. That's what we found. That's what's there. For decades, astronomers thought worlds this far out were dead. Frozen. Solid all the way through. The math said so. The distance said so. The cold said so. You go far enough from the sun, and everything stops. Everything crystallizes. Everything becomes rock and ice and nothing else. There should be no gas. Gas requires warmth. Gas requires activity. Gas requires a world still alive inside. But Gong Gong is alive inside. Or at least, it's still exhaling. We found it by accident. Or rather, we found evidence of it when we weren't looking for it. In 2023, Gong Gong passed in front of a distant star, a rare alignment called an occultation. For a few seconds, the world blocked the star's light, and as it did, the light bent. The starlight curved around the world's edges, passed through its thin veil of atmosphere, and arrived at Earth slightly changed. That change, barely measurable, almost imperceptible, told us everything. There's gas there, there's substance, there's ongoingness. This shouldn't exist. The temperature at Gong Gong's surface is 40 Kelvin. That's minus 388 degrees Fahrenheit. That's so cold that methane, which is a gas here on Earth, is solid ice there, frozen, hard as rock. Yet somehow, at that temperature, with that much cold, with that little energy from the sun, something is still vaporizing. Something is still rising. Something is still becoming air. The most likely explanation, beneath Gong Gong's icy crust, there's an ocean. Not water. It would freeze solid in the cold. Liquid methane or ethane. Kept fluid by radioactive decay deep in the world's core. And that ocean, impossibly, is warm enough that some of it evaporates. The vapor rises through cracks in the ice. It reaches the surface. And there, in the near vacuum of that distant place, it hovers. A thin, delicate breath exhaled into the dark. No one is watching. No one has ever watched. This world has been breathing for billions of years in absolute silence. Through the entire history of life on Earth. Through the rise and fall of dinosaurs. Through the emergence of humans. Through every moment of discovery and loss we've ever had, Gong Gong has been exhaling methane into a void so empty that the molecules drift for hours before they collide with another particle. And we never knew. We couldn't know. We weren't looking. We thought the cold edges were dead. That's the threshold moment. The instant you realize that distance isn't absence. That a world smaller than some cities can contain entire worlds of its own. That the deep places, the cold places, the far places are not dead. They are just quiet. They are just patient. They are just doing their work unwitnessed. Why does this matter now? Because it reframes how we search for worlds like this elsewhere. We've been looking for atmospheres around distant exoplanets, assuming we need to find heat signatures, water vapor, biosignatures. But Gong Gong shows us something else. It shows us that atmospheres can persist in places so cold, so far, so seemingly impossible that we've been searching in the wrong register entirely. There could be dozens of worlds like this in the Kuiper Belt alone. Dozens of small, icy bodies with thin atmospheres, with interior oceans, with processes we've never measured, ongoing processes, secret geologies. Worlds still alive in ways we're only beginning to understand. And beyond our solar system, the implication is staggering. If a world 50 billion miles from its star can sustain an atmosphere through internal heat alone, then atmospheres might exist around distant exoplanets we thought were dead. Dark worlds, far from their suns, that we've been dismissing as barren. But they might not be barren. They might be breathing. They might be alive inside. Gong Gong is still out there, still exhaling into the dark, still doing its work in the silence. We found the evidence of it for a few seconds when a star passed behind its edges. Then it returned to being invisible, unremarkable, a point of light in a vast field of points of light. But now we know, now we're listening, now we understand that the cold edges are not empty, they are full, they are patient, they are keeping secrets we're only starting to learn. The solar system is stranger than we thought, more alive, more full of hidden process, and we're only just beginning to see.